Hello and welcome to this game review. This was a 10+0 game, and in general I would not suggest playing 10+0 as it's basically a blitz game, and blitz games shouldn't really be played with the aim of improving our chess. Instead we should play with 15+10 or longer time controls so that we have time to figure out complications that inevitably may arise. So this was a French defense after knight f3. Black played this move knight c6, which is quite strange as black just played e6, which suggests that black should play d5, and he should. And this is of course fine for black, this is a standard opening. But knight c6, the problem with this is that we have blocked the c-pawn, and had white played normally with d4, now white has the strong center, and if we go for a French again, now we have a bad version because we cannot pressure the center with the move c5. So bishop c4 was played, this just runs into d5, and now suddenly black is better again. Well, not better, but he is fine. Bishop b5, and now bishop d7, which stops white from doubling the pawns, but the structure is not entirely important in the opening. In the opening, our aim should be quick development and to castle as quickly as possible, which suggests bishop d6, castles, and for example knight e7, and castling as soon as possible. If white takes here, this doesn't really do anything because now we have the bishop pair. White cannot really exploit our doubled pawns here, and black has good development and he can push in the center, develop the bishop somewhere. Also the b file might become useful. So bishop d7 castles, bishop e7. Bishop d6 was slightly more accurate, with the point to meet this check with knight g to e7 and then castling. And black again has a nice setup. Instead bishop e7, rook e1, knight f6. And this could have given black some problems had white played the move queen e2, prophylaxis against castling, and now if black castles, white could take the bishop on e7 because there is no king to defend. So after queen e2 it would be quite difficult for black to castle. So instead d4, which is a natural move. I should say that here both black and white are basically playing bullet chess, so there's not much point in analyzing the thought process because neither side is really thinking here. So castle c3, bishop d6, and now a6 played, but this is a slight mistake because black is just pushing white's bishop from a bad square to a better square. Instead, black should try to activate his pieces somehow, as they are currently quite passive. So for example h6, black can play g5 even, and then knight e4 looks quite active like this. Also knight e7 is an idea. Of course this again allows bishop takes f6, but here we can actually take the bishop on b5. Otherwise, if here, then knight takes d7, again black is quite fine as he has activated his pieces somewhat, and these are some small positional tactics. But okay, a6, bishop d3, now white is slightly better, and black continues ignoring the problems on the king side with b5. This move doesn't really do anything. The point of b5, b4 to create a weakness on c3 is quite useless because we will not really have any way to attack the weakness on c3. Meanwhile, white finishes development, queen c2, black takes here, but opening the b file was not really useful. Now g6, preventing bishop takes h7, but again black should try to activate his pieces somehow, maybe h6, and then rook e8. For example, after white exchanges, we should take with the bishop to not allow bishop takes f6, and again of course black is not really doing that great, but he can fire on. After g6, now white is slightly better after rook e8, well not even slightly. h3 is a bit slow but also fine. The problem for black is that he cannot really unravel his pieces. Bishop f8 makes sense. White doesn't exchange pieces because he has more active play against this king. And after bishop g7, now white notices the weak square on c5, which black created by playing b5, b4. So that was one downside of this plan, and the upside is still not obvious. Queen f8, knight c5. So the pressure is increasing quite a lot. Now a lot of stuff is attacked, and black finally cracks under the pressure with rook e8, but this loses the game outright. Instead, Black should try to defend the bishop at least, because the threat was to eliminate the defender of d7. So we have to defend the bishop in hindsight. So queen d6, and for example bishop h4 to go here. Black is in big trouble, of course, but at least the material is about equal, so the game kind of goes on. Said rook e8. Now white just takes the knight on f6, and the game is basically over, especially because now the bishop is also hanging, and after white takes the pawn on a6, he also has a very clear plan of pushing the a pawn, so the rest of the game did not really include too much. Black won a pawn here, but he is a knight down, so the rest, not much happened here. The queens were exchanged, and of course black lost. So as usual in these games, everything happened in one move. Of course white was pressuring black quite hard, but it all comes down to one move tactics. And of course, when we play so quickly, we cannot really expect our chess to be any good. So that is why I would again suggest playing longer time controls and not playing 10+0.